Yeah, this is Jackson Many. Welcome back to this channel. And today, let's check on is all sin the same? Is all sin the same, or is all sin equal? Yeah. So let's see. Let's check and see. People have been using Matthew 5:27-30 when Jesus was talking about the lustful. When you look at a woman lustfully, you committed adultery. And when you hate, hate is the same as the sin of murder. Okay, so let's see what Bible is saying about is all sin equal. Okay, is all sin equal? Okay, in the New Testament, we had some type of sins that when the Israelites committed, those sins could not be covered by any sacrifice. And sins like adultery or even murder, these were sins that you remember when the scribes approached Jesus, and these Pharisees are telling Jesus that the law says that if you are caught in adultery, then you're supposed to be stoned. So that's the law. So the adultery and murder required a capital punishment, in the law of the land. That requires murder. Somebody who was killed should also be killed. If you commit adultery, the seventh commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery, right? Seventh commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery. And there was no sacrifice that was to be made, to cover the sin of adultery. Yeah. And of course there were reasons. Adultery interferes with the pattern of the family setup, and anything that interferes with the setup of the family setup, it breaks the society. As in the long run, it breaks the society. And so God was very keen on adultery and murder. When you murder, man was created in the image of God, and so when you kill, that's a very serious sin. Okay. And so we see the distinguish whereby there is some sins, that when committed, like for example, an intentional sin. Okay. An intentional sin. There was some intentional or out of ignorance, doing something and you did not know that it was wrong or it was not right according to the commandments. That sin required sacrifice. Okay. It required sacrifice. And you remember when in Psalms 51, David, pleading with God for God's mercy, when he committed adultery, and the prophet approached him and told him that you've done this. He knew that sin, the punishment of that sin is death. That you've committed adultery, and there was no sacrifice you could give to God, to come out of it. Okay, that is Old Testament. Okay, we see, and now when it comes to the New Testament, okay, in the New Testament we see Jesus indicating that of God's commands are important than others. And if you read Matthew 23:23, he told the Pharisees that you've neglected. Yes, you are giving tithe, but you've neglected the weightier things. Why is Jesus differentiating, that tithing is less important than the weightier things, which is justice and mercy? They neglected justice and mercy. So that is an indication that there is a distinguish in sin. Okay, there is a distinguish in sin. So is all sin the same or equal? All sins are not the same. Okay, that is my answer. All sins are not the same. And we see the distinguish, Jesus speaking of Mark 12, 28, 31, which God is being asked, which commandment is the greatest? Love your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Love your neighbor. Yes, there are other commandments, but the one which is more important, love God with all your heart, love your neighbor as you love yourself. You see, so you see the distinguish. Okay, and we see Jesus considering some sins to be more serious than others. When he refers in Matthew 7, 3-5, when he referred to, two individuals' lives. Yeah, one speck and the other one a plank. He never explained more about it, but you could see the distinguish. One had a speck and the other one had a plank. So dig more as a student of what, dig more and find out why Jesus distinguished those sins. Okay. Some sins were greater. Some sins are greater. We know all sins lead to death. Okay. Some sins are greater in the level of spiritual and physical harm. Mark 9:42. The Bible is warning us that there's a greater punishment for anyone who causes someone else to sin. If you cause a believer, cause another believer, young believer to sin, there is a greater punishment. You see, there's a distinguish that sin is of greater punishment. Okay. It does not say it's of equal punishment, but of greater punishment. Okay. And Luke 12:42-48. If you have greater knowledge, there is a greater punishment. To whom much has been given, much is expected. So if you know much and then you do little with it, or you know and you sin, there is a greater punishment. You see a distinguishing that. Okay. When Jesus stood before the Pilate, right? You remember when he stood before the Pilate, what did he tell the Pilate? He declared that the one who had handed him over to the Pilate committed a greater sin than Pilate who confirmed his death. So the one who handed Jesus to Pilate committed greater sin. That is what Jesus said, than Pilate who is confirming his death. Okay, does it make sense? So it's never equal. It's never equal. Actually, in Mark chapter 5, Matthew 5:27-30, if you go and read it carefully, Jesus is not saying that, actually what Jesus is indicating is that, internal hatred with external act of murder, internal lust with the external act of adultery. It may seem that Jesus means that these evils acts are the same to God, but Jesus meant that internal acts also are sinful. So Jesus was just cautioning people that, yes, you might be concentrating on what somebody has done, the evil that is outward, but don't you know that even the evil that is inside counts? Jesus was not making them the same, but he was just also telling these people that it also counts when you hate, you've murdered. Because remember, before you murder, there's a stages, right? The stages of murder, you start hate from the heart, and then it leads to murder. Even adultery, most of the time it starts from lustful, and then it leads to fall into adultery. So you have to not only judge the outwardly, but you have to also check on yourself, check on the inward, because judgment starts there. Because you can sin inwardly. That was the point. But Jesus never said that it is equivalent or it is equal. I don't know your thoughts, my friend. I don't know how you think about it, but I believe that, that maybe you will look at it and try to study and understand. Let me know in the comment section. Is all sin the same, equal? For me, it's no, and I've given my reasons. Otherwise, may the Lord bless you. I pray that you'll follow me and like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe. God bless you.